In this lesson, we're going to discuss compound interest. So we've already learned about our compound interest formula. We discussed the difference between simple interest and compound interest. We said simple interest is the type of interest where you only earn interest on your original investment, and compound interest is interest that you earn on the original investment plus any interest that you've already earned. So we learned the formula A equals P times 1 plus I to the power of N. And we're just going to recap. A stands for our final amount, so how much you have at the end of your investment. P stands for your starting amount, your original amount, that amount of money that you put in at the beginning of your investment. And it actually has its own name. It's called a principal. And it is our starting amount. The 1 is just a 1. The I is our interest rate, but it has to be as a decimal. And we do that by taking the given interest rate and dividing it by 100. And the N has been the number of times that we were earning interest, or the number of payment periods that has passed. So this is going to be the number of times interest is earned. So in our previous lesson, we did look at this formula, but we did very basic questions where the interest rate and the number of times that we were earning our interest was always just once a year. So what we're going to do today is look at what happens when you earn your interest more than once a year, because your average bank account may give you interest daily or monthly or weekly. And if you are making an investment, you don't always just earn your interest one time a year. Sometimes you earn it a little bit more frequently than that. So what we're going to take a look at is something we call compounding periods. So compound interest and the compounding period is how often our interest is being calculated. So for all of these, we're going to take a look at an interest rate of 2.19% per annum. And we did discuss before that per annum just means per year. And we're going to see what happens when we compound our interest more frequently. So if it's being done annually, that's once a year. Now, semi-annually, semi usually means 2, so we've got 2 times a year. Quarterly, that means 4 times a year. Now, months, there are 12 months in a year, so that would be 12 times a year. There are 52 weeks in a year, so if something is weekly, that would be 52 times a year. Now, bi-weekly means every other week. So if I have 52 weeks in a year and we're doing it every other week, we would take 52 divided by 2 and get 26 times a year. And then daily, in an average year, there are 365 days a year. There are 366 if it happens to be a leap year. But if it's just a regular year, we're going to say that that would be 365 times a year. And I will make a note that it is 366 in a leap year. So what we're going to do is if I'm earning my interest annually, that means we're earning our interest 1 time a year. So that one time we get our interest, we get the full 2.19%. Now you'll notice here there's a column for I, and I is our interest rate as a decimal. So I would take my 2.19%, divide it by 100, to get an I value of 0.0219. Now, if it's being done semi-annually, and that's twice a year, I don't get 2.19% twice. What happens is the bank splits that into two equal amounts so that you earn half of it the first time you get the interest, and then you earn the other half the second time you get the interest. So what we're going to do for this one is take our 2.19%, divide it by 2, which means we're going to get 1.095% the first time, and then the other 1.095% the second time, for a grand total of 2.19%. So I'm going to take 2.19 and divide it by 2 first to get 1.095. And then we always need to divide that. That is a percent. So I need to divide that by 100 to make it a decimal, to get 0.01095, which you can't see. So just move that page over. Okay, so our I value would be 0.01095. Now, if it's quarterly, what happens is we take that 2.19% and we split it up into 4 equal amounts, and then you earn that amount of interest so that if you add it up over the year, you get that 2.19%. So we're going to take 2.19 and divide it by 4. Now, instead of doing what we did here where we did 2 separate calculations, I can actually divide it by 4 and then divide it by 100 and do it all in one big step. Save myself a little bit of work here. So I'm going to take 2.19 and divide it by 4, which means I'm earning 0.5475% each time. And then if you add them all together, you get 2.19%. And then divide that by 100 to get my I value of 0.005475. So when you start to get a lot of decimals, it's very tempting to round, but you do not want to round this. If you do, it means you're not going to get as accurate an answer. So you always want to keep as many decimal places as your calculator gives you. All right, so our next one down here is monthly. So if we're earning the interest monthly, we take our 2.19% and we divide it into 12 equal installments. And then we also divide by 100, right, to turn it into a decimal. So 2.19 divided by 12 divided by 100 is 0.001825. Once again, you want to keep all of those decimal places. All right, if it's being done weekly, that is 52 times a year. So I take that 2.19 and we divide it into 52 equal installments. And then we always divide by 100 to turn it into a decimal. So 2.19 divided by 52 divided by 100 is 0.000421153. So you want to make sure you write the whole decimal down. Do not round. Keep all the decimal places that you see on your calculator. All right, bi-weekly is 26 times a year. So we're going to take that 2.19 and divide it by 26, and then divide it by 100. So 2.19 divided by 26 divided by 100. That's a lovely number, is 0.000842307. And our last one here, we're going to do a regular year. So there are 365 times. So we're going to take that 2.19% and split it up into 365 equal smaller installments. And then divide it by 100. So 2.19 divided by 365 divided by 100 is 0.00006. All right, so in our next video, we'll actually try doing some calculations with these numbers. I'll see you then.